Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Naisha Stone, and we made it to the end of June, which means we finished the month with CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. But just the month. We have more guests coming in July and August. So let's get right into it. Hey, Ray, I'm about to add you in. Hey, Naya.
Hey.
Hey, Ray. I love you too, Naya. But hey, Ray, if y'all just joining in, my name is Naisha Stone, and we're back with another episode of CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. And we have a cool friend of mine. Well, I see her as a friend, Ray Hill. She is the executive director of King Drive Bid. And I'm just really excited to be with you. I remember when we first met, we had an interview at Sam's place, and
Yeah,
it was like super emotional.
it was.
So
It got real deep.
cool. So what you been doing today?
Oh man, today has been long. I got up and worked out and then got back to work and then I had kids and taking them to haircuts and uh, beauty salon appointments and back to work. And
Hey everybody that's joining in. A lot of people know you from being an executive director, so we'll get into that. But how do you manage being a mom and also, with all your other roles? Like I know you put mom first, so how do you manage that
Mhm.
plus the other stuff that you got going on?
Yeah, so that's a good question because if I'm being completely 100 with you, I don't balance it. It's a evolving challenge that I keep trying to figure out. Sometimes my kids aren't first, and it's unfortunate, but that's just life, right? Like sometimes I have to work, and they understand that because they're older. But it is a evolving balance that every day it's a challenge, right? And the best thing that I could do is just try my best, and not be stressed out in the process because I know that they're at their best when I'm at my best. And so just real speaking, of course, if this was a perfect world, everything would be like aligned and this would happen this way and this would happen this way and I would be able to do this. But some days it's like 4 hours of sleep just because that's how the cookie crumbled. So I can't say I do balance it, but I try my best.
Well, I don't have any kids, but I don't balance my life well, so I can't even imagine uh, having kids. I got my niece and my nephew, and my nephew he about to be 7. He a whole nother mess.
Yeah. That's the good that's when they like talking and they got their own personality and they starting to notice stuff. So, they attitude hasn't quite got in there yet, but they still exploring.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
It's gonna get worse from here.
it does. Yeah, they come into their own more so the older they get. Think about when you were 7.
Oh, I know. I was definitely a handful. I was definitely talking back. Like, why? Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand. I don't get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too. But that's a good thing, right? Channel energy in the right place, can build a boss or it could be, a troublemaker. It just all depends.
I was a little bit of both. So,
Yeah. Oh,
well, since staying on topic of youth, your first job was a youth organizer. So, how did that come about? And now that can kind of lead into you being an executive director.
yeah. Let me see if I go back that far. Oh, so I grew up on 31st and Villard. And so that's kind of like the old Milwaukee. And my brother worked or got a job like the summer internship at a place called Northwest Side CDC, which is actually still in existence today. And he worked there, and we're 8 years apart. So he worked there first. And then, of course, when I got 14, I was like trying to make my own money because, I wanted guests and cross colors and everything. And my mom and Air Max. And my mom was like, no, I'm not doing that. Um, so, you can get a summer job. And so near West Side, I'm sorry, not near West Side, Northwest Side CDC, had a summer program. And so, I went up there and my mom was like, her brother used to be here. I love her brother, but he used to be here. And so she wants to do this. And so when I got there, I worked under two individuals who were in the community, and it was Wanda Ison, and I remember their names, Wanda Ison and Jerome Wonders, and they were just amazing people. And they also worked with Nova School, which was an alternative school. And so they did a talent show, and I was in the talent show, and they were like, well, Capitol Court was going away. And so at the time we were tasked with walking in the heat because it was surveys for what the community wanted to see happening at Capitol Court, which ultimately became Midtown. And so met a ton of different people there, like Urban Underground. So Reggie and Charlene Moore. At the time, he was a county supervisor, Joe Davis. Just they had brought a host of people in during the program, and I got to meet some really cool people during the time. And yeah, that was my summer experience. But little did I know that that was like economic development, and I would end up back in economic development, just in a different area. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, my first job was Chuck E. Cheese, so I have dressed up as Chucky before. Everybody that's worked there has had to dress up as Chucky. So if anybody said they didn't, they lying.
I wonder how many kids screamed when they seen you coming. That was like so dramatic. Seeing a view.
I only did it like 3 times. I hated it. I hated it so much. I did not like it. And then, man, they had me put my hair up. It was just, and it stank in there. And then, like, you got somebody that's 6 foot tall, and then me. And then it's like, how is this suit fitting both of us? This is not.
Well, look, that was supposed to be a happy place. So you still spreading joy.
Whatever. Hey, Hank. Definitely not. Hey, everybody that's tuning in. This is CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women, and today we have Ray Hill, who is the executive director of the King Bid. And I want to get into that. So for one, I found out what a bid was when I came into journalism, but I still can't describe it. So yeah. What is a bid, and what do you do in your role as executive director?
Yeah, I still struggle too describing it, depending on who I'm talking to, because business and property owners a lot of times get it. So there's 26 bids in the city of Milwaukee. So let me also say that, which is probably one of the highest number of bids in the country. Bids are created based on special assessments that property owners pay into. And so that assessment is held by the city, and then the city implements that to special areas like us, the bid, to be able to operate from it. And so what that means is that we're responsible for the aesthetics, meaning what the drive looks like. So what that commercial corridor looks like, if it's clean, presentable, if it all matches. The other thing we work on is technical assistance. So we try to get not only the property owners, but new businesses as well, the opportunity for business growth to scale or them come into the area. And then that wraps around recruitment. So if we have vacant spaces, we help those property owners fill those spaces. What else? We do a host of other things too. We also help with events. And so the bid doesn't have necessarily a signature event, but we work very closely with Bronzeville, which is a district within our district, right? That's really heightened in the Black arts and culture. And so we put on an art walk that we do. And then we also do a business breakfast for all the area businesses and clients to get an update about what's going on in the area. So we tap a little bit into everything, development. We try to, market studies. We help with charrettes. We do all a host of different things to help improve it.
So for the people that don't know, if you're not from Milwaukee, the King bid is probably one of the strongest bids that we have. Like, dang near everybody know about it. And so how do you think, or what was the steps to build up that bid? Because honestly, like, we have the Center Street bid, we have Villard bid, but it's not as strong as King's. And so, like, how did that get to that point?
I will say, there's a strong legacy there, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention, my predecessor, CNS IG, who was the executive director prior to my tenure. And I also got to work under his leadership as well as the associate director for 2 years. So he did a great deal of putting together those pieces just with the expertise that he had. But secondly, the alderperson there, Alderwoman Cox, I got to shout her out too for implementing and being very strategic and intentional about what the area looks like and preserving the culture and the history of that. And when I say culture, I mean Black people, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the epicenter of where many Black folks, before it was even MLK Drive, it was called 3rd Street. And that's where they went, bought, sold, hung out, kicked it. Like, that's what they did, was they hung around in that area. And so the resurgence of it really has to do with the legacy that has been pretty much ingrained in the work. And even as I sit in this role, it's a continuation of that. So I will say that it is 2 things. One, it has a strong historical reference. And then the other thing is it's adjacent to downtown. So if you're from Milwaukee, you know that once you hit that corridor, and now MLK goes all the way down to Wisconsin Avenue. But if you hit Martin Luther King Drive, you're going to run directly almost into the Fiserv Forum. You're going to run directly into now, which is the third Street Marketplace. You're going to run right into downtown. And so it's the thoroughfare from the north side to downtown. So
go ahead.
Villard be it too, because I grew up again off Villard. And so they've been doing a lot of work in terms of rebranding what they look like, especially being on the north side. And so they have like a summer concert series. And so they're really there's a lot of bids in Milwaukee doing a lot of amazing things, trying to engage not only the businesses, but the people. And so we just are fortunate enough because we have this historical legacy that we carry, and then also being adjacent to downtown.
Before I continue with that, shout out to Villard, because I grew up on 72nd and Villard. Yeah, and so shout out to my mentor Q. He's redeveloping a lot on Villard, so shout out to him and all the people building that back up. I did not know until maybe until I entered into journalism that was the original like downtown of Milwaukee. Am I correct?
Yep. So and there's a lot of still, if you drive down King Drive from North Avenue down to Walnut, most of those buildings are still in their historical form. You can see the 1842 still on the building. So the preservation is there, you see it. But that was the downtown for not only just for African-American people, but for everybody.
That's interesting, because it sure don't look like that no more. But we getting there.
Baby steps.
You've repeated through interviews, whether it was with me or with other people, that you want to preserve, Milwaukee's culture. A lot of people think we just farms and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the rest of Wisconsin. But how would you describe Milwaukee's culture?
Milwaukee has a grittiness to it. And I say that because I'm from Milwaukee. I've never lived anywhere else, but I've traveled. And so we are a majority city of color, meaning that the people that you're going to see, hey, Kenesha, the people you're going to see are going to be Black and brown. And it's not always reflected in the places that we go and the things that we buy, right? The stores that we patronize. And I see that in the last probably 10 years, and I have to attribute this to a lot of the millennials and then the generation that came after us, is that there's a lot of entrepreneurship, which means that we're going to take what we have and show you who we are, right? And I think that's what I see when I see Milwaukee now versus 15 years ago, where it was just, you on one side of town and it looks a certain way. We knew Cesar Chavez was like the Hispanic, we came on the north side. We knew that's where Black people were. There were certain neighborhoods that were majority white. I mean, unfortunately, we do have the segregation. I can't ignore the elephant in the room, but I think the culture has always been, there are Black people here, and it's rich. And no matter if you're white, Black, or Hispanic, or Asian, we Midwestern. So if it get 30 below, we know to throw on our coat and our boots and get out there and do what we need to do. We know how to get snow off our car. We know how to do so much, so many different things, just because we're just resilient. And then, our summers are just dope. So, we're always out. We got access to the river, the lake. We have a ton of parks and green space. So I think we're just a combination of everything. And so to see more of the ethnic culture being reflected and being displayed throughout the city is dope.
Yeah, when I was well, I'm 25. So when I was growing up, my family didn't really like go to like certain stuff. So I really didn't go to Juneteenth or nothing like that. But like now that I'm older, I see that it's a thing to go to these type of events and to support these vendors. And like you said, like we are a lot of entrepreneurs. Like I'm an entrepreneur myself. You're an entrepreneur. So it's just like it's a lot of I love it, and I like that the city is starting to support it. I think it's taken a few years, but the city is definitely, I feel like, been intentional about, okay, we're going to pay artists we're going to build an event, Bronzeville Art Week, and we're going to support the Milwaukee artists in here. And I think that's more things that we need within the city. So the people that are here, if you have any questions for Ray, just put them in the comments. Definitely we'll ask them throughout the interview. We got some more time, so if y'all can't think of anything right now, I got y'all until y'all can. But cool. I know when I interviewed you, you said one of your favorite things about Milwaukee is being by the water. Mm-hmm. I am not by the water because I'm in Georgia, and I did not know that a lot of places lacking water. I mean, like I knew it, but I'd be like, I can Google any park in like the state of Wisconsin and be right next to some water. Mm-hmm. I do not like that here. Like, and if it is, it's all privately owned. So that's one thing I appreciate about Milwaukee is our parks. Yep. We have some really, really, really great parks. And I really support that.
Yeah. It's interesting that you don't know what you don't know. So when you're from here, there's certain things that we take advantage of. And I have to mention my cousin Marquise Mays, who did a movie called The Heartland, right? And so and it was about, young people in Milwaukee, but it was so much green. It was so much green to the movie, and it really showed like how much parks we have, just our trees. Like it was just like the color was just so different. You knew it was like, I knew like that's Milwaukee. Like I can see a picture and be like, that's Milwaukee, or that's not Milwaukee. But just the access that we have to water is just dope. There's not many, the Great Lakes is dope. You can go anywhere up, all the way up, and you can still access to water. So I mean, it's just something to appreciate. I know people are moving down south. That's kind of where the migration and most of us are going. I would say, I think in the last year, Milwaukee's lost 7% of its population, or at least Wisconsin has, to Texas and North Carolina, and they have access to water, but that looks a little different. And that's ocean water. And if y'all know that certain times of the year, them hurricanes ain't no joke. Matter of fact, the rain down there ain't no joke. It's like the jungle. So, I love our nice calming rain. That's simple.
When the bugs, man, it ain't no joke. I'm not gonna lie about it. But we do have Rise and Grind in here. They say they'll be coming back to King Drive. So shout out to y'all. They let me hang up some scholarship posters a few years ago. So thank y'all for that. Hey on Full Circle Television. She's been here for like every interview, so I appreciate it. And definitely, if you're ever in Milwaukee, make sure to visit King Drive. I feel like a lot of people come to Milwaukee and they don't see the real city. If you see people posting about Milwaukee, you only see downtown. That's not Milwaukee. Definitely, like, there are so many, like, be careful where you go around the city, but it's still safe. And I feel like there's culture in every single block, from Burleigh to everywhere. How can people support Milwaukee, and not just like the city structure, but just like the growth of the city?
Like I said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, and support in Milwaukee's always looked different. And I think we naturally have always thought it has to be one. And so if it, like Naisha Stone is doing Carved in Stone, positive news, it can only be one. Like, no, there could be 3 or 4 positive news channels and networks. It's just, supporting, being able to support all. And let me be clear too, I don't like to use the word support in terms of patronizing businesses, because if I'm paying for something, or people are receiving something, they're receiving a service in return. So it's not like I'm just giving and not getting. It's an exchange. And so I think one of the biggest things around patronizing not only entrepreneurs, but local is important. But most importantly, it's just important to not knock down or tear down the next person. If you want to give constructive feedback, that's an important thing, but it doesn't have to degrade the person in their business. And I think we're getting better with that. But, you know, I mean, I want to get on Facebook and be able to say, you know, what my favorite place is without me saying what my least favorite is, right? People should have the opportunity to be able to uplift without having to tear it down. So I think just to continue to shop, you know, shop local, you know, support your local people in a sense of, you know, even if you're not purchasing anything, but share. It costs nothing to share somebody on social media or give somebody a shout out. And just talk about people in rooms that they would normally be in. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Your network is your network. So, you know, even if you haven't necessarily patronized before, it might be like, you know what, I seen such and such was doing that. They might be interested in collaborating, or they might be interested in that type of work. Let me connect you if I can. So it's just really about being, you know, positive and free to spread the love.
You heard that? Positive news. Carved in stone. But no, I definitely, I agree with you on, I do think there's, I don't know if it's just in the city or maybe it's on social media too as well, or the rest of the world. But we like, oh, like we always comparing ourselves to other people, and then be like, well, if I support this burger business, I can't support that burger business. Or I'm talking down on this person. Like sometimes we do mess up as business owners. I'll say this, one time, um Everett Mash is Everett. He's a journalist in Milwaukee, and
Okay.
he's a journalist, and I had interviewed him for Black Nova. And I had messed up in it. So it was for the Milwaukee Courier, and it was, I think I was like 17, 18. No, I had to be like 18 or 19. And I interviewed him, and I basically had a whole bunch of mistakes in there. Like it was some inaccurate stuff. And he never like went on social media. He never, when he see me in person, he never like talked bad about me or anything like that. And there have been times where I have messed up as a writer, even to this day. But yeah, people have come to me privately, or even just told me, you know, hey, this isn't accurate, or this isn't, and it's helped me grow. So I think there is a way, like you said, to tell somebody, hey, you made a mistake, or I did not like this service, and I'm just letting you know so the future person cannot deal with this. And I think that's something we need to be taught business etiquette, because a lot of times we don't know how to speak to each other. And me myself, whether it's through an email, a text, or on the phone, or even or definitely in person, I don't think we know how to really interact with each other in a positive way. It's just like, well, you just giving me money, or I'm just buying a service, and it ends there. But like, no, we need to build relationships and be nicer to each other.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, you know, it's important to communicate effectively, but also understand that, you know, Milwaukee's a big city, small town, right? And we know, especially for people, Black people, it's like 2 degrees of separation, right? I'm sure I know somebody that knows you 2 times over, if not closer. And the things that you say, you know what I mean? Like, because how you feeling at that particular time is really important. And you could be tearing that person down to the wrong person. And it's just not cool, right? It's just like, why not give that opportunity for someone to correct it? And so that's the mantra that I've been trying to incorporate, even with, you know, the businesses on the drive, right? You know, there's times where, you know, timing may not always be effective, or the service may be a little, you know, mediocre. But we try to take that opportunity to have the conversation and say, hey, you know, here are some suggestions, and or is there any resources that you may need to help things, you know, improve. That's our job. And we understand that for patrons, that's not your job. However, I can't tell you how many times we patronize a McDonald's or a large chain, and, you know, haven't even given feedback, right? When things have been rough, we just probably maybe take a break for a month or two, and then you see people go right back into their cycle. So I say all that to say is that we have to be comfortable being able to give positive and constructive feedback in a way that people can receive it, and not, you know, combative or argumentative, but it's just really important to let people know so they can improve and be long lasting. So that's just me.
I love it, because I definitely need to hear from myself, because sometimes somebody say something, I'll be like, let me just wait a few minutes on this. Or I ask my boyfriend, like, I'll literally write up an email and be like, do this sound aggressive? People like, I would have not said that word. So I'll be like, all right, let me delete it. Dude, I'll be really
The other thing too is it's not personal. You know, I tell people all the time, you want to be an entrepreneur, you can't get personal with it. Like, that's not what it is. It's business. And if somebody is paying for something, your feelings don't necessarily matter. And when I say that, I don't mean like you shouldn't care, but you shouldn't take it as they're personally attacking you. That's not That's not the point of the goal. That person leaves, they go home, they go do what they do. But you have to remember that you're providing some level of service or product, and it has to be up to par. So that's my soapbox. I'm off my soapbox.
No, you good. You good. I remember whenever I interviewed you, you were saying how the bid helps help businesses, upgrade their systems or, give them advice on how to do that. So where do you see the world of business going when it comes to whether it's tech or just making sure like our systems and our processes are up as business owners? And I'm specifically speaking because of the pandemic, because a lot of people had to go take out, update their websites. But what are some things that you think businesses need to start paying attention to make sure they're elevating elevating their business?
Yeah, I would say that, sometimes stopping and reassessing what you need to do. And it's a really hard thing when you're running a business because you are the CEO, the CAO, the CFO, the shift manager, the closer, and sometimes you actually are interacting with customers. And so you're a one-man band, and I think it's important, or a two-man, right? That's still a lot. It's important for you to try to contact as many resources as you can. And so I always encourage to get a consultant to look at your systems, because people get into a circular routine, right? Like they're trying to maintain their business and they're doing it based on what they know, which is their process. And sometimes there's elements or there's opportunity for you to improve your process by doing less work. But in order for you to be able to explore that, that takes time. That's a shift. That makes changes. But I would encourage, and I always do encourage, to spend the money to get a consultant to look at your systems overall as a whole to see if you're doing the most efficient thing. Another thing I see too more than often is people, especially in the service industry, kind of present themselves as they're doing X, Y, and Z. But then when you really dig into their business, or you do meet them, or you are purchasing a product or a service, is totally different. And it's like you're not aligned with what, and it's easy to do because I think people fall into their niche. But you typically have to take a step back with somebody that has no affiliation with your business and have them look at it to really review, to say, hey, am I on the right track? And not only is this being sustainable, but is this, adapted to growth, right? Like I can't think of one person who wants to be an entrepreneur or open a business who really just wants to be in that space, right? Who wants to, oh, I want to make $100,000 every year for the rest of my life. Like, no. Typically people want to grow and scale. And in order to do that, you're going to have to be able to change and pivot, but you got to do it the right way. And so you can't do it all. So again, I always say, get a consultant, try to find somebody in your field, in your space that has expertise, and pay that person to take a look at everything and make the small implementations to be able to adapt to your business. So, and the pandemic didn't give you no time. Like you had to really, you had it or you didn't.
So you didn't. It was over. It's not funny, but it's funny because it is like, dang, nobody was prepared for this. Like,
and nobody knew, and that was the biggest thing I think too with even people who call and they say, oh, I have an idea for a business and I want to open this, da da da, and I say, yeah, that's cool, that's dope, but you don't need no brick and mortar space for that, right? Like you could do that from where you are. You don't need the whole line item for rent. You don't need that. You can really do what you want to do without having to have a lease, a building. And it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So again, it's just kind of like reframing the mind. And I think, the pandemic has really helped encourage not only for people to do what they love or what they're passionate about, but to do it in the most effective way, which is, utilizing the technology that we have.
So the pandemic, a lot of people either did something really great or they did nothing at all, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you say you kind of became complacent during the pandemic. So how did your new role, or what were some things that kind of just helped you get back on the path you wanted to be on?
Yeah, I was a happy hour, hey, let's meet for drinks kind of person. So I was always out. And then the pandemic happened and it caused me to sit down. And then I realized that I really actually am more introverted than I thought. And And I will say the pandemic also, I see myself more socially awkward, you know, around crowds or individuals that I don't know. Um, and it really helped me focus on what was necessarily important. So being busy versus productive, I understood the two and the differences. And I thought to myself, yeah, let me be intentional about what I'm connected to. And so I try my best, especially for people who are close to me, to make time. But if it's outside of something that I really don't want to do, I don't do it. So if you ain't seen me in a while, I because
At least you honest.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is really something that I want to do, or was I doing it before because I just wanted to be busy or wanted to be seen or not forgotten? And, you know, it's hard to be, it's expensive and it's hard to be out here in these streets. So I just really trying to take time more so for my family and myself. That's probably the biggest thing, myself, like being able to just sit and be, that's a win.
That's something I need to work on. I have a problem where I just can't sit. Like I need to be doing something, whether I'm reading a book, scrolling.
Yeah.
But lately, my
That's
boyfriend.
your, that's your time to not think, you know, maybe too intense, you know. And I would assume as a writer, you know, you're constantly on.
No, for real. And so like I'm trying to work on like just sitting there and just doing the absolute nothing. Whether that's like looking at a wall or watching some like, some bugs outside or something. But like I really
You
have
and these bugs.
I
I
know, man.
you and these bugs. I can't.
My mom, I'm telling you, like I freak the I freak out. I freak out.
Mm-mm.
But they're entertaining to watch when they're further away and like super far away. Like I like watching ants. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But if you ever outside and just watch ants and like they little path to their angle, it's very entertaining. I like stupid stuff like that. I like watching birds and like stuff like those little tiny things.
I rock with you on that because, you know, that's nature, right? And they know when a storm coming. I know that. You know, they all of a sudden they just disappear. You like, what's going on? Cloud, like, oh, that's what's going on. But you also asked me, and I didn't answer about the transition with my role. And I will say, whenever you step into a level of title leadership, you have to be cognizant and careful what you're attached to or what you're connected to. And so because there's a different level of responsibility, I also had to be conscious of not being just any and everywhere, right? The alignment that I have with not only the organization, but myself, because as an exec or because as a parent, you know, as a spouse, like there's responsibilities that I have, and those buckets got to be first. So that's the other thing too I've learned with the pandemic, is just really being intentional about time.
Yeah, a lot of my interviews were before the pandemic. I spent the whole day going from different parts of the city of Milwaukee, like interviewing people, and so like the same thing for you. And then it's just like I'm at home all the time, which was very different for me because like I want to be around people, but then I kind of got used to like not being around people, so it's a little bit harder for me to go out and do in-person interviews. But when I do, I always really really enjoy it. So
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just in the stage or the part of like how do I get back out into society in a way that I'm comfortable doing it? Because no, I don't want to be around everybody. I just want to be around my friends and
Yeah,
family.
the people that you.
Occasionally go, but
Yeah.
none. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
so I need that balance again, which
Yeah.
we work on.
It's every day, right? Every day you have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to try my best today to make this work. And if it didn't work, I got tomorrow. We're going to do it again tomorrow. We're going to try again tomorrow.
I
So,
love it. Where does your drive come from to just to keep pushing? Like no matter what you go through in life.
you know, I came from a working class family, and I just always wanted a little bit more. And I knew that it wasn't going to be given to me. Like I knew I didn't have any inheritance or a trust fund. Um, and so my taste is just, the stuff that I want to do is super extra. And I'm like, in order for me to, eventually get to this lifestyle, I have to do a little bit more. The hustle has to be like top notch. But more importantly, I think I've explored that thought outside of materialistic things. And it's really, to leave a legacy well after I'm gone. And so I always felt like if I haven't given everything that God has put into me and given that to somebody else or anyone else that could help improve or better their situation or their life based on some of the challenges and obstacles I have, um, you know, that would be job well done for me. And so that's what drives me is to how can I improve and make, it sounds kind of cliche, but the world better based on the opportunity that I've been given. And so being a woman of faith, that's like been ingrained in everything that I do.
People talk about legacies, and I honestly, with me being mid-20s, I still never thought about leaving a legacy. Like, what does that look like for you? Does that mean like a business? Does that look like money? What does that look like?
I used to think it was money, and then I realized that money is a tool used to obtain things, and at different points in your life, it's a measurement of how successful you are. That went out the window when I noticed that you can have the money that you need and want and still be internally unhappy. Your family could be dismantled, or you could be in a really poor mental state. And so I started to separate the two. So when I think about legacy and I think about leaving that as the betterment or influencing a change, something catalytic and like strong, um, that will be remembered not only for my children, but the children after those children. And I don't know what that looks like, but I do know that as long as I stay connected to the purpose and the calling that I've been given, it'll come, right? Because it's not connected to, status or fame, but it's really just connected to the work, and being able to just share whatever that opportunity may be. So whatever space that I'm allowed it and that I'm graced the opportunity to be in, I just got to go hard in whatever that is. And so I think sometimes we have a thought of where we may be and God be like, ha, nah, that's not it. It's something else. You just got to be great. And so that's where I'm at. And so legacy for me may be tangible, may not be tangible, but the goal is to just give everything that I've been given, everything that I gotta get it out.
Man, this is why I love talking to you. You always make you always make me smile, and we ate good the last time we hung out.
We got,
I wasn't in town for Juneteenth, so how was that? What was this year's like?
it was beautiful. I had the opportunity to be one of the judges for the parade, and actually, it was my first time sitting through the parade from beginning to end, and to see the thousands of people. It was almost like a huge family reunion. Like it was just amazing to see the culture being celebrated and everybody at peace and happy. And the weather was great. Wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. The sun was shining. It was just really great to see everybody just in one space enjoying themselves. And so it's always a vibe, I think, too, when it comes to I was laughing at the food. Like I couldn't figure out what I was smelling. It was like a cross between barbecue and corn and then like something sweet. And it's just like you could just smell the flavor in, in the air, right? I just haven't had that experience um in no other festival that huge, but it was everything that we've um from kids to the elders. You just saw it and you saw the richness of it. And it was really a day to be proud. And the thing about too, prior to Juneteenth being a federal holiday, again to Milwaukee's, um, the positive part of Milwaukee is that that's the 51st Juneteenth celebration. So we've been doing this, right? We've been doing celebration. And so just to see it and elevate it and extend it the way that it was dope.
Do you think it's possible? Well, yes, it's possible, but how can we create more of these spaces outside for us to just celebrate Blackness? Like, because sometimes like somebody will host something on Burleigh or Atkinson, sometimes people don't feel safe. But every time we have a Juneteenth event or something with Bronzeville, like no matter where it's at, in specifically on King Drive, people feel safe. And so, how do we start creating that safeness in the city again? Because I feel like a lot of people are fearful. I was a little bit fearful when I was, when I was still there. But like, how can we begin to create, safety for, our youth, for adults, just everybody?
Yeah, I also too am very, conscious of, safety, not only like when I leave work, but pretty much anywhere in the city. I'm in a car and I'm tensed because, the driving is different now. Part of it is the perception, and I think we really got to be honest about the challenges that we have, and holding people accountable for that. And so I think, from what I grew up with, there was people in the community that were not afraid to tell you when you were doing something that wasn't right. And, I I really think that's really what needs to come back is that communal, that communal, I don't want to say policing, but just the communal accountability where if somebody's doing something they ain't supposed to be doing, they're getting called out for it. And they're not subjected to any retaliation. Right. And so taking control of our neighborhoods in a sense that, my aunt is around the corner or my dad lives down the street or, people really being connected again. When that's going to happen, I don't know. But I think to give it to organizations' hands or the police hands it's not necessarily a realistic solution. It sounds good on paper, but the reality is we would look out for ourselves more than anybody. And so that has to happen across the board. It happens in the suburbs. I mean, they neighborhood watch, when they walking past or they see somebody's dog on somebody else's yard using the bathroom and then pick it up, they call it, they're on the phone, they send in an email, they on the next door app, they saying something. And so that is neighborhood, communal policing. That's saying, hey, I'm taking accountability for my neighborhood and for my neighbors to ensure that we keep the standard. And I really just think that really needs to come back.
No, I agree. I think we, especially my generation, we just kind of like, I'm going to just kind of stay out of it when it comes to certain stuff. Like, I do see this bad old little kid over here, but I ain't going to say nothing. I may record it. I may laugh at it, but no, we do say like, dude, no, calm down. You need to go home. Where's your parents? And we need to start speaking up because honestly, I feel like the city, we're at a great point where we could really elevate or we could really go even further down than where we are. Yeah. And so we as a community definitely need to step up. And to the organizations, I agree with that too. I feel like as a community, we put too much accountability on the organizations when they're just regular people who probably don't even live in the neighborhood, to be honest. Yeah. And so they're kind of accepting these grants, and not saying all nonprofits or anything like that, but they're accepting these grants. But where's the money really going? All these $1 million grants that just got put out by Tony Evers, like, I feel like we definitely need to know like where our funding is going, and is it specifically going to stuff to actually make the city better, or is it just creating this next initiative, just campaign that say, hey, stop driving? Like, what is this really doing?
And I want to say, I understand the intent is always good. Mm-hmm. There's never one answer to a solution. Or no, there's never one solution to a problem. There's not one. And so when I think about the state that we're in, we didn't get here overnight. We got here just along the way, and it has a lot to do with, the economy, right? There's just a lot of factories. We were industrial city, so a lot of factories have left and gone. Our housing issue. There's a lot of people who it's not even about homeowner versus, renter, because I hear that a lot. That's a challenge, but more importantly, people are just transient. So they're going from apartment to apartment to neighborhood to neighborhood. And so when you do that consistently, there's no ownership to it because you're going to move from 6 months to a year. And so you're not going to take the time to know your neighbor. You're not going to say anything about the trash in your street because you feel like, yeah, I'm going to be in some other neighborhood and, anyway. And so there's no connection to it. And so because that's like the domino effect of what's been happening, that the solution isn't going to be, oh, we need more police. The solution isn't going to be, it's not going to be a one-way solution. It's just going to be multi-approach. And I think I think we have the resources to do it, not only monetarily, but hopefully leadership will, and when I mean leadership, I mean local government officials will take this as an opportunity for it to be a pivotal time to change some things. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, I've been saying we'll see. We'll see with a lot of things. When we're coming up on time, I do have one more question for you, and that's how I end all of them. When people come back and rewatch this interview, what do you want them to get from it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I didn't expect to get that. I think I really want people to know that being a leader isn't by title, right? I had an opportunity to grace leadership well before I was in this position, and that there's leaders in everybody in different ways, and so just find where you're a leader at. Find where you're a leader at, and grow in that space because they need you. Somebody needs you.
Y'all hear that? Somebody needs you.
Somebody needs you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Ray. This is our last guest of June, but we'll be back in July and August. I am Naisha Stone. This is Carving the Stone, and this is CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. Make sure to support the city of Milwaukee, Ray Hill, the King Drive, and just Black businesses and just small businesses overall. Make sure to tune in next Thursday, same time, 6 o'clock Central Time, and we'll be back with another guest. All right, see you, Ray.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.